It's
Let me know
almost
what I
here.
actually, let me think about what I think about things instead of being inundated by all these other people's thoughts constantly all day long, which is valuable. It's good to get other people's perspectives on things. I think it enriches you, but at a certain point in time, you become captive to it. And I think there's just too many people that are captive to other people's thoughts.
I think so too. That's why I'm so close-minded. And I really am. I'm truly close-minded, and I think you're open-minded. And
I try to be.
And I struggle with that because just letting people pour information into my head,
Yeah.
you know, I just tend to avoid it. I
Isn't this the you might be a redneck guy? He's like, right? Am I crazy?
am engaged, you know, in that I do follow things closely, and not the stock market, but
He's one of them. He's not the plumber guy, but he's one of the redneck comedians.
everything else. But you know, that's been a little
Yeah,
bruiser.
don't follow the stock market right now. It's so
Yeah.
baffling. It's so crazy. Like, what is going on? Like, the whole world is mad at us. Trump's playing golf, and in between swings, he's
Right.
on the phone with presidents of countries.
Yeah.
We're gonna need more money.
Yeah, that's what somebody told me the other day. Like, is he playing checkers? Is he playing chess? He's playing golf.
He's playing golf.
That's
Like,
what
what
he's
does that
doing.
mean? Everybody wants to think there's some like grand plan to it. Well, they think the grand plan is, look, you know, we remember back when was it the 92 elections when Ross Perot was in? Mm-hmm. So when Ross Perot laid out what happened, do you remember during that debate where Ross Perot laid out what happened with the tariffs? So that like when we try to sell stuff over there, we get a high tariff. It's like a 35% tariff, but they don't get tariffs when it comes over here. It's not the same. It's not like, you know, you guys, there's a tax on everybody if you want to sell your goods to encourage people to buy American products. If you want to sell your products in America,
Sure.
we get a tax. That tax goes to the grid or whatever the hell they're fixing with it.
Right.
And Ross Perot was laying it out like this is how all the jobs went to Mexico. Because have you ever seen that, Jamie? It's see if you can find it. It's a great speech because Ross.
When he talked about the giant sucking sound.
Yes,
Yeah.
you actually mentioned that
Right.
earlier
Yeah,
in the
that's
podcast.
what I was talking.
Bro, in Ross Perot's time, what's really funny about people talking about that politicians were saying like 30 years ago, 40 years ago, is that the global trade scheme that we designed, the American government designed, was nowhere near as complex. Okay? Like that is, like he was right then, and so was Bernie Sanders, and so were all the trade protectionists. But the idea that like this is still applicable after those guys' voices were not heard and American capital did what it wanted to do, like the notion that like this is still the same dynamic here is so stupid. That's not how this works.
About.
Yes, that's
Right.
it. That's funny. Did you just see that recently or something?
No, I just remember it.
Oh boy, the Giants.
He would have been a great president. but
I voted for him.
He had big ears, you know, and he didn't come
He
across
was
well
also
on
an
TV.
independent. He was an independent, and nobody was voting for independent. By the way, they changed the whole way debates work after this because it used to be if you got 5% of the vote in the primary that you could be a part of the presidential debates, and that's not the case anymore. Or it was 5% in a poll. I forget what the number was that you had to reach, but it wasn't a high threshold, and then you could be a part of the debate. And they changed the out of that after this because Ross Perot tanked it. They thought HW was going to go for a second term.
Right.
And meanwhile, Ross Perot f***ed it up because a lot of people that would have voted for Bush voted for Ross, and the people that were already going to vote for Clinton voted for Clinton, and Clinton won. But play this, Jim.
$13, $14 an hour for factory workers. And you can move your factory south of the border, pay $1 an hour for labor, hire a young 25. That's assume you've been in business for a long time. You've got a mature workforce. Pay $1 an hour for your labor. Have no health care. That's the most expensive single element making a car. Have no environmental controls, no pollution controls, and no retirement. And you don't care about anything but making money. There will be a giant sucking sound going.
There it is, right there.
That's it.
If the people send me to Washington, the first thing I'll do is study that 2,000-page agreement and make sure it's a two-way street. One last point here. I decided I was dumb and didn't understand it, so I called a who's who of the folks who've been around it. And I said, why won't everybody go south? They said, we'll be disrupted. I said, for how long? I finally got them up for 12 to 15 years. And I said, well, how does it stop being disruptive? and that is when their jobs come up from $1 an hour to $6 an hour and ours go down to $6 an hour, then it's...
Yeah, except guess what? It doesn't work that way if we also consistently dominate those countries and the trade relations that we set up with people that have allegiance to capital in the same way and can take advantage of the lack of protection that those countries have to consistently keep labor costs down on top of the political destabilization that America engages in. So then it's great. You never actually have to adjust prices at all.
It's leveled again, but in the meantime, you've wrecked the country with these kinds of deals.
Jesus Christ,
He was
what
right.
a smart man.
He was right, and that's
Yeah.
exactly what happened. American manufacturing collapsed. Yeah, and they did it all for money, and they did it all because they were greedy. They were already rich.
Right.
And if we could have just gotten those ayahuasca,
Jesus Christ, they'd have smoothed the out, man.
they would have said, "Oh, okay.
Yeah, let's be nice.
Let's make America great again."
I don't understand the trade war with Canada, because have you ever met a Canadian that had $35 in his pocket? No. They're all broke. They have $22.
Really?
And they'll buy you a beer. You know, I love
They're all
Canadians.
broke?
I've always, they're broke. They don't have any money up there.
How come they don't have any money?
Because it's socialism. You know, I think it's a great place. Don't you love Canada?
I love it. Well, they have
Yeah.
socialized medicine, but it's not. It's a capitalist society.
It is, but socialized medicine, and
Yeah.
it's expensive. So they.
What percentage of the Canadians paying?
What the This dude said something so stupid, even Joe Rogan had to correct him. I love when that happens.
Taxes.
So I don't know.
Let's find that out. What's the Canadian tax rate? I know it's higher than Americans.
I know mine's a bitch.
And when you go over there, you have to pay taxes too. Like if you do a gig,
Yeah, you have to pay taxes.
yeah, you pay Canadian taxes on your
And
gig.
you get paid in Canadian dollars. And I'm not going up there much for shows.
Yeah.
But, you know,
So here it is. Canada's top federal income tax rate is 33%, while the U.S. is 37%.
right?
However, when combining federal, provincial, state taxes, Canadians often face higher marginal rates across various income levels. That's interesting, that theirs is only 33%, ours is 37%. I thought ours was lower than theirs.
I thought ours was 40.
Well, it is when you get to a certain tax.
Talk to anyone in Europe about how much taxes Americans do end up paying, okay, at every bracket, and they will look at you like you're the most insane person of all time, because Americans do pay a decent amount in taxes. But guess where that goes? Bombing Yemen. The answer is always bombing Yemen. Okay? Someone has to bomb Yemen. Yemen is not going to bomb themselves. We have to bomb Yemen. Excuse me. Israel has a right to do a genocide, and anyone that tells them that they can't do a genocide is going to get bombed. Sorry. That's how it works. And the reality is, it's not that the American taxes are high, okay? In comparison to some countries, it's lower. In comparison to some countries, it's higher, but it's unexpectedly higher. It's what we get in return. At the local level, at the federal level, a lot of it goes back to either subsidies that then turn into some form or another stock buyback, or of course defense, bombing Yemen, or R&D. And at the local level, it goes to not bombing Yemen, but instead the domestic military force, which is the police. Sometimes also to Israel, ironically enough. Yes, some of your state taxes will literally go back to subsidizing Israel. How insane is that? Look it up if you don't believe me.
Bracket, correct? Isn't it? Ours changes when you get higher, right?
Yeah, it does.
33% on the portion over $246,000. What's ours in terms of like the highest tax bracket? What's the highest U.S. Is it 37? That's what it is? What's really crazy to me is when people say the rich should pay more taxes. Okay, fine. But where do you think that's going? Where's that going? Where's the money going? Is the money going to the federal government? Do you think they're good at it? Do you think they're good at managing your money? Have you paid attention to all the shit Elon's covered. 37% is when you make over $609,000 a year. That's you.
Yeah, well, that's
Yeah, Elon Musk is saving. Elon Musk is saving.
Currently,
the American
there's
government.